TheManoy here, and welcome back to my channel. In this episode, we'll be talking about the Kawasaki W800, the motorcycle that I regret selling the most. So I'll be talking about how I got it, what I did to it, how much I sold it for, and why I regret selling it the most. Out of all the motorcycles that I have sold in the past year or so, it is the only motorcycle that I think, that I really regret, selling. So what is the W800? Well, it is a motorcycle produced by Kawasaki. It is classically styled, looks like a British motorcycle. Some people say it looks like a Triumph. Some say it looks like a Norton or a BSA. Well, actually, it is a BSA in DNA. Now, it is powered by an 800cc parallel twin, air-cooled 4-stroke bevel-driven 6-speed manual transmission, chain final drive, and it looks like a motorcycle. Like it's the kind of motorcycle that goes inside your head when you say the word motorcycle. Now, it has a lot of history. I did mention, it is a BSA in DNA. All those letters and stuff like that. So back in the 50s and 60s, there's this British motorcycle company called BSA, and they outsourced some of their work to this small Japanese company called Meguro, and they produced this motorcycle called the Meguro K1, I believe. And then they were doing good, but sad to say, Meguro was having some financial problems, and here comes Kawasaki to the rescue. And so they bought Meguro, and along came with the designs for the BSA model, the K1, Meguro K1, and that's the beginning of our W story. So Kawasaki produced their own version called the W1. It was 650cc parallel twin, air-cooled bevel-driven. You get the point. So yeah, it has a lot of history. Now, fast forward to the year 1999, towards the end of days. Now, Kawasaki produced the W650, or should I say, revived the W series in the form of that motorcycle. It had a kickstart. It was 650cc, parallel twin, producing similar horsepower to the W800 as of today. And it was a good-looking motorcycle. It is basically how it started also for the modern W. Now, fast forward again, 2010, Kawasaki upgraded the W now as the W800. The W800 produced around 50 horsepower, 50 Newton meters of torque, blah blah blah, and it was well received when it came back as an 800. In the early 2000s, it wasn't well received in North America, but it was a hit in Europe and in Japan. Now, currently, the W800 has received some upgrades, especially on the brakes, because the bike that I had before was a 2017. It only had a single disc brake front and a drum rear brake. The new ones that you can buy, off the showroom right now, anytime, is already equipped with dual disc brakes, front and rear, ABS, and it comes in 3 flavors. Standard, you got the street, which is like a street tracker, dirt tracker like style, model, and of course you got the cafe. Now, you might be wondering, why do you regret, selling your 2017 W when you can buy a brand new one? We'll get to that in a moment. So how did I acquire the bike, that I reviewed last time? So it was pandemic time. So I'm a salesman. So, sales were bad. Those times, nobody was buying a brand new car, and I needed the money. And it just so happens I had a bit of extra. And what better way to turn around my money, in my case, is to buy something and sell it. So I was going through Facebook Marketplace, and I found this bike. Obscure little ad, it was very vague. It just says there, big bike. Open it. Turns out it's a 2017 W800. So we sent messages back and forth, to the owner, and it turns out that the bike is located in Dumaguete City. which is a bit far from where I live, but close to where my dad lives. My dad lives in Santander, which is the southern part of Cebu, the southernmost part of Cebu. And I can take a boat ride to Dumaguete City for just 30 minutes. Back again, another 30 minutes. So you could say it was really easy. The problem was it was pandemic time and border control was really strict. So I had to put my buying of the W800 on hold for a bit. Here comes 2021, and then border control was a bit, lenient already, and then I had the opportunity to cross, so sent messages back and forth to give me peace of mind, because I couldn't examine the bike right then and there, and then I was on a strict time schedule because I was only allowed to be in the port of that island for a short period of time. I couldn't go out of the port. I stayed there in the port just to do my business. So I asked for videos and pictures of the bike, and it was in a sad state of neglect. It was dirty. There were some scratches in here and there, and although it was kept in a garage, but still it was kind of sad to look at. But the price was too good to refuse. So I went there, met the guy, took it out for a spin in the port area, made our business, I paid him. Then I went back to Santander. Rode it around a bit, within the area. And then with my wife, of course, because my wife likes to ride motorcycles. And surprisingly, she likes the bike. In spite of it looking very dirty, she liked it so much. So that was already a good plus. That was a big plus already. So I brought it back to the city. And then I had it, cleaned up. I did the usual, like, change the brake fluid, the oil, had the brake pads replaced, new tires, had it freshened up, did some paint work and stuff like that. So I was riding it around. I really loved it. I really enjoyed it because the torque, although it didn't have that much horsepower, it didn't have that much torque, it was a bit on the heavy side, but it didn't matter to me because the bike looked so beautiful, and the bike had the characteristics of a gentleman's motorcycle, and it made me realize that riding a motorcycle doesn't have to be on the gas all the time. It made me enjoy riding slow in the city, in the province, or up in the mountains. It was a very enjoyable motorcycle, and I got a lot of stares, especially during stoplights, because again, it is a beautiful motorcycle. In fact, a lot of people would ask me, what is that bike? Is that a Norton? Is that a Triumph? I was about to say, yeah, it is. Not knowing it's just a Kawasaki. In my opinion, the Kawasaki W800 is the most beautiful Japanese motorcycle that you can buy today, especially the standard. The one I had was the black edition, so it was blacked out, and the fins were like polished aluminum. Shit was aluminum, but it looked good. It looked good. With some chrome bits here and there, and the ribbed seats, and it really looked the part. It really looked like a vintage, classic, modern retro motorcycle that that can't be beat. It was like the genuine thing. Not even a Ducati Scrambler or a BMW R90 could beat that in that area in terms of looks. Now I sold it because during that time, I was in need of money, and the bills were piling up, and I have kids also. So gladly, there's a guy in Manila who saw my ad because I posted it on Facebook Marketplace, which is a good topic, by the way, for our next video on how to sell on Facebook Marketplace. Anyway, we exchanged messages, and then we came to an agreement that he buys it, he sends the money over, he trusts me. He had his friend, check on me, for my background. Again, the guy is in Manila, and I'm here in Cebu, which is basically a 27-hour boat trip away, or a 2-hour plane ride. So having him look at the bike, in person was impossible during that time. So it was just purely messages and stuff like that. So we agreed on a price. The price was 350,000 pesos. It's cheap, actually, for that model. And he sent the money over to my account, provided that I ship the bike to him, and I work on the registration, also transfer it to his name. Now, that time I was really happy because I made a good profit. A decent profit, actually, to the point that I could buy another motorcycle, probably even two. Now, I got the bills paid and stuff, and so on and so forth. And end of story. Now, it's been a year since I posted that review, which you can look at, here. And I just realized, I missed the bike. It was probably the most beautiful bike that I've ever owned. Probably the friendliest bike that I've ever ridden. It was the most relaxing motorcycle that I've, swung a leg over. And it was also one of the bikes that my wife enjoyed riding. And that is the part that I miss the most. It's not fast. It's not, something, that can win drag races or, be the king of the hill. No, it wasn't like that, It is a motorcycle that brings you back in time. To a simpler time where, having a motorcycle was all about, enjoying the ride for what it is. It was a tool, but a beautiful tool. I've been searching high and low, for the past year, looking for a bike like that, and I couldn't find another model or another bike like that one for the price point that I bought it for. And they're getting harder to find these days. And if there are, cheap W800s in the market, especially here in the Philippines, they're not to my taste, because the people, the owners would probably have done something weird to it, like turn it into a bobber or scrambler, and I don't want that. I want to buy a motorcycle that is bone stock and that I can build on my own or probably even restore. So that is the reason why, I regret selling it. Anyway, that's it for my story. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want more content from me, click on the subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. Now, if you want to know more about the W800, I made a review last year. I'm going to put the link here. Check it out. And as always,